Hello and welcome to episode number 29 of Women Who Lead. And I'm so happy to see all of you who joined the show today as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month and highlight multiple roles and generations of Latina power, from general counsel to a first-generation broker owner to the executive administrator to one of the busiest, my own CEO in the industry. And the breadth of their experience and skills is the secret superpower to their company's success. Hello, hola, mi nombre es Teresa Palacio Smith. My name is Teresa Palacio Smith, and I'm Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Home Services of America and HSF affiliates. As many of you may already know, my family is originally from Colombia, South America. I'm very proud of that. And when we get together with close friends, we always ask, would you like un cafecito, right? Because that's the way we break bread together amongst friends. And today I am amongst friends, and I can't wait to hear about their backgrounds and the stories about their families and the pride they all feel of their Hispanic roots. And I found this beautiful quote from Sonia Sotomayor: "The Latina in me is an ember that blazes forever." And I think we all agree with that, right? So let's meet our guests. So today I'm going to start off with Ditra Catalano. Ditra is the executive administrator to Dino Blafari, who is the CEO of Home Services of America and the chairman of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. With more than 25 years of experience, Ditra is known for being resourceful, solution-oriented, organized, and a skilled multitasker. And I can attest to all of that. As the brand ambassador for Gino, together with her in-depth knowledge of all business initiatives, she plays a key role in all facets of the daily activities and operations of Home Services, the nation's largest residential real estate company, including managing executive communications and social media, data reporting and analysis, and presentation development and production. And I remember the very first time I met Ditra, and her smile that you see right there on the screen, her warming welcome and her finesse is something that stays with me always. It's a memory I'll never forget. She is also a proud mother. And if you follow Ditra on social media, she and her family are also TikTok superstars. They do a lot of Latina dancing, which I love, right? Aniela Gonzalez. Aniela is Vice President and General Counsel for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, EWM Realty, and Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Florida Realty, both of which are wholly owned operating companies of Home Services of America. So impressive, Aniela. Aniela is responsible for representing, advising, and managing risk for the company's brokerage, sales, title, closing, and property management offices through all of Florida. She's an educator, a trainer, and also protects the legal interests of the company and its more than 2,400 real estate professionals. Aniela received a Juris Doctor degree cum laude from the University of Miami School of Law. I even had trouble saying all that. That's how impressive that is, where she was editor-in-chief of the International and Comparative Law Review. She holds a master's degree in international affairs and international business from Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs, and a bachelor's degree in political science and Spanish from Wesley College. She's also very actively involved in bar and community service, having held leadership and board positions with the Commercial Real Estate Women, which is CREW. I was a member of that group at one time in Miami, the Wesley College Alumni Association, the Real Property, Probate, and Trust Law section of the Florida Bar, and the Junior League of Miami. I remember meeting Aniela at the HSOA legal conference. I don't know if you remember meeting me there, but I was so impressed with her knowledge and her background and her Cuban roots. I just thought it was such a special thing to be able to see her. And today I'm honored to have you on the show, Aniela.
Thank you, Teresa.
Doris Lopez. Doris is the broker owner of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Real-Time Realty, and Real Property Management, Tri-Counties, which is a woman-owned company located in the Monterey County area of California. Doris is the humble daughter of migrant farm workers, and she strives to give back to the supportive, loving community that helped her pursue an education and become the successful business owner that she is today. Has more than a decade of experience in real estate and has more than 80 agents and staff. So exciting, and I can't wait to hear your story. Doris serves as the secretary of the Chispa board. She's a member of several realtor associations and the Palma High School Athletic Council, and also involved with Madonna del Sasso and St. Paul Church, and never fails to be there for her 3 equally athletic and outgoing boys. I think that's so cool, right? All of us, we share that in common. I was referred to Doris by Jane Littman, who is one of our team. She's on our team and a business consultant, and told me that I had to get to know Doris. And I'm so glad and so grateful for that introduction, because I really think it's such a special thing. And, to have you on the show and to hear your story, which I love. So welcome all of you to our show. Let's get started. We all want to hear from you. And the first thing I always ask everyone is, let me hear, how did you get started in this phenomenal business of real estate? And Aniela, let me start with you, and then Deetra, and then Doris.
Okay, great. Well, I've been practicing law now for 20 years. And at the point where I met Ron Sheffield, the CEO of BHHS CWM Realty, I had really been concentrating my practice on real estate litigation, commercial litigation in general, but real estate litigation, and working with title companies throughout the state of Florida, representing their owners and lenders in title issues that would arise. So I had a breadth of knowledge in the real estate business. And when I met Ron and he was looking for general counsel for the brokerage, it was seemed to be a great fit for me. And it was the right time in my career to step out of a busy practice where I was a partner. And the fact that I don't have to keep time anymore, but work just as hard, was a blessing. And also, one of the things that attracted me to this role was the fact that I work with such amazing people. And Ron and the people that support me on a daily basis in the C-suite are just some of the best people that I've ever worked with in my life. So I don't think that I'll get to work with these kind of folks. The quality of the people that we work with is special to me.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, both Ray's office and Ron's office are just incredible talent, wonderful people, and I just love that spirit, that Miami spirit. So I know they're happy to have you as well. So Deetra, I think I said you next.
Yes, I got started. Let's see, I have one child. My son, Joseph.
We have to do a shout out to Joseph.
Yes, shout out to Joseph. He is watching. He's 20. And so rewind, when he was 1, I had growth on my mind. And I had a conversation with a very dear friend of mine who then was in sales for title and escrow here in Silicon Valley, California. That conversation led to an interview the following week. And shortly after that, I started in sales for title and escrow at a company by the name of Financial Title Company. Through that relationship, that's how I met Gino. My largest client while in sales was Intero Real Estate here in San Jose. And so I met Gino, and it was perfect timing. He was restructuring headquarters here and in Silicon Valley. And I started working for him in 2006. You fast forward to 2013, and we were both in the car, his car, driving, delivering bonus checks. And that afternoon, we received a phone call from Ron Peltier. And that phone call was asking Gino not to make an immediate decision, but he offered him to be the CEO of HSF Affiliates, which operates our franchise networks. So we did that. He sold Intero. We then moved to HSF Affiliates. We were there for about 5 years. at that point, I became field-based. So I'm blessed enough to have been able to work from my home for 7 years now. We did that for 5 years, and then he received another call about 2 years ago to become the CEO of Home Services of America. So that's where we are today. I have about 29 years of administrative experience, and I've been working alongside Gino for the past 15 years.
And I love it. And there's no doubt that you are, such an integral part of the organization, and what you do is so critical in supporting Gino. And I think we all know there are individuals, gatekeepers, I have to say this, that are not always as nice as you are. The most wonderful person. I've just to talk to you is always, you always feel good when you get off the phone. So thank you, Deetra.
Thank you.
Did a great job. And then Doris, tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate.
Well, 2007, I was teaching. So I started teaching when I was 18. And so from 18 until 2007, in 1994 to 2007, I was teaching. And then my husband, he's very active trying to find, a new job, something different. So he saw the opportunity to have a franchise for property management. I was pregnant, 7 months pregnant, and he tells me, we're going to buy this franchise. And I was, I had to go back to work, and he told me, you get your license, we get the franchise, we'll figure it out. So of course, there I go, figuring things out for him, and I got my license. So in 2007, when I got my license, we started property management. Then the market crashes, 2008. And somehow we got into the REOs, brokerage, and, it was just a lot of work. So then we started working. As time went by, he knew that Berkshire Hathaway was going to do some sales. And we thought about, growing our business. And it had been in 2000 and, it's 6 years already that we have been, we joined Berkshire Hathaway. But I went from teaching to becoming an agent, to becoming a broker, and becoming an owner. So I left my teaching job, but I love teaching my agents. That's something that I enjoy. I enjoy, the new challenges and just being out there with them and just teaching them and doing the best thing out there for the clients that we meet, on a one-on-one basis with them. So it's just been awesome, being around with them.
And I love that number one, it's almost like you hit it at the right time, even though, because property management actually was not a bad time to be in 2008, right? Because you had people needing to rent. They couldn't sell their homes, so they had to rent their properties out. And you had people that were relocating or that needed those rental opportunities. And then, of course, being a Latina right in the heart of that market, which some people and a lot of people did lose their homes, right? And so that REO advantage really came in well for your company, and the fact that you were somebody that could really serve the community in a compassionate way, because it was a difficult time for so many people. So Doris, we're so happy that you're a Latina, that are a part of a Berkshire Hathaway Home Services franchise as well. So let's talk about your roots, because I think that's really important. And I'm going to talk to you, Doris, and also to you, Aniela, about your background and your Hispanic roots, because you are considering, depending on what perspective, either first or second generation, right? First generation that for you, Aniela, born in this country, or second generation of activism, right, in this country, like many, that your parents were the first to come. And both of you are in the same boat as I was, right? We were all fresh. I was fresh off, my parents were fresh off the boat. So Aniela, let me start with you, because I know your parents came from Cuba, right?
Right.
And they actually were separated for a while. And that story has just touched my heart so much.
Yeah, well, the communist regime took over in Cuba in 1959. My parents were married at the time, and they had made a decision not to have any more children until they could get out of the country. They weren't one of the first to be able to leave. So finally, in 1967, my dad was able to get a visa through Spain, and spent several months in Madrid before coming to the United States through New Jersey, where he had an uncle. And my mom then followed him, but several months later through a visa through Mexico. and reunited in New Jersey in 1968. So they were apart for 13 months. And I came around in 1971, so just celebrated my 50th birthday. But it certainly was a difficult time for them because my father left behind 3 brothers and sisters who he has not seen again. Obviously, it was a very, very difficult decision to leave their country. They were fine in Cuba. They would not have had left had it not been for the communist regime. My father was an industrial education teacher, and my mother was working for the Cuban national telephone system. So they knew from the very beginning that the regime was not for them. So they quietly made plans to leave since that time. So I grew up, I was born in Miami, but I grew up in New Jersey. So we often say I'm a New Jersey Cuban or I'm a Miami Cuban. So I'm very part of the New Jersey network. So I grew up in a really awesome town, the name of Kearney, New Jersey. It was not a Latino neighborhood. It was a Scotch and Irish immigrant mill town, very close to Newark, New Jersey. For those of you who might know that, in and out of that airport, very close to New York City. And that I went to public school all the way through.
And there are certain nuances for those that don't know between being born up in the North or in the South, because I was born in New York, but grew up in Mississippi. And I know exactly what that nuance is and, the differences there are. And not only that, but being also that we're gringas, right? Because we were born here. And we have the Latina blood, right? That mix as well, which can be quite a challenge too, right? Because it's like a fitting in position.
Right. How about and I would come to Miami as a kid. I would come every summer because where do New Jersey Cubans go to vacation? To Miami.
Miami.
Yeah, and
Miami,
you see extended family. So, but I was definitely the one who never had an accent, who had her nose in a book. So I stood out. So
I love it. How about you, Doris? You have a very special story too about your parents and their immigration to the U.S.
Yes. So my mom was a teacher in Mexico, just graduated when she was 23. My dad used to work for a fuel company in Mexico called Pemex. He was a mechanic engineer. And my grandpa, my mom's dad, told them, we're going to go to the United States if you guys want to follow us or if you guys want to stay here. And my mom, my dad, they made the decision, let's just go, of course, find something better for us. And they came over super young and they had the opportunity to go back to school. But like my dad said, your mom was pregnant. I had the choice either to go to school or I had to go to work. And so the only position here in Monterey County, it's the capital of the world for the lettuce, the salad. We have a lot of vegetables around us. So they made the decision to be a field workers. But the funny part is that my mom would go back to school in the night and she would tell me that she would see, people that were trying to learn, English, but they didn't know Spanish and they didn't know how to write. So for her instinct is I'll teach them, but she never learned English. Everybody learned except her. So she decided, what, I'll just continue working in the fields. So that's what we did. We were migrant kids. I was born in Mexico. I came back when I was 3 months and I was raised here. It's a little bit different. There's a lot of Hispanic people here in Salinas. But just the fact that they were constantly moving around, we were constantly moving, we had a little, my dad had his Ford, 1979 Ford and a little trailer, and he would just pick it up and we would leave Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, California, constantly moving. So I had to learn to move around and to always be on the go. As growing, as a female, I'm a Hispanic, super tall girl. I'm 5'9". So it was very different, like you don't see tall girls here in the area. So it was just, like a challenge. But just the fact that my mom, my dad, they taught us, go for it. Like, don't be afraid. You guys are girls. but just continue and don't be afraid of changes. That made me who I am right now. So it's just constantly moving and constantly making changes, especially in real estate. I mean, real estate is constantly changing. So I'm able to do that. And I love it, because if it wasn't for them and teaching me how to, move around, it's okay. I feel that I wouldn't be where I'm at.
Well, change is constant. And the fact that, I know they bought their first home, and that was a big event. It was for many families, right? But for Latino families, personally, it's a very big deal. And my mother never learned English either. So that was always difficult as well. I was her translator. I was the one that would always work with her as well. And that's something that is very common. And it's not because of choice. Sometimes it's because they are afraid, or they don't, of being scrutinized for not having a perfect, accent, or having that, that, which is a big part of our Latino roots, right? And abuelitas, let's talk about abuelitas, our grandmothers. They play such a special role in our lives. Mine did, because my grandmother raised me and my sister when we were very young. Dietra, I know your abuelita was very special as well. Tell me a little bit about that relationship and what you remember about her.
Sure. Well, I am a very proud Mexican American. My grandma on my father's side, she was born on an Apache reservation in Arizona, and she moved to San Jose, California in the 40s when she married my grandpa. I was very close to her. I was very blessed to spend a lot of quality time with her every weekend. Before I had a driver's license, when I had a driver's license, it was much more often. And when my son was born, I actually lived 2 blocks from her. So the two of us would walk over there often and visit. And she really played a huge role in embracing my culture. And she showed that to us, showed to myself and my whole family every time we would be in her home, through faith, through, of course, the tightness of our family, through music, through food, through dance. So I just have the best memories of her when I would go over there and the music would be playing and she would be singing and whistling and dancing. And, there's something special about our Latin music that just fulfills my heart. It brings a ton of joy to me. Through food, I love to cook. I believe I do because of what I saw her do and what she prepared for me. Through my mom's recipes. And so I try to do that as well, cook as much as possible, foods from my culture, and of course, share it with my closest friends and family. So, everything she showed us, she'd give us a blessing when we would arrive, a blessing when we would leave. Everything that, I just appreciate and embrace my culture, and I owe a lot of that to her and the time spent with her.
I love it. And when you said the music, we all can relate, right? The minute that music starts, something in our hearts that goes, wow, I can feel it, right? Food is something that unites everybody. And of course, the fact that you learn that, and the que Dios te bendiga, right? We all, my dad would always, before I left, que Dios te bendiga, everything, right? Before, which is part of the blessing of that culture, of our culture, right? I do also want to talk about, some of the things that the food. Let's talk about food, because something people need to know, right, is that each of our foods is very different. A lot of people always think that Mexican food is what we all eat, right? And when I was in high school, I have to share the story. When I was in high school, I got a job in a Mexican restaurant called El Palacio, which obviously my name even bears my name. And it was a Mexican restaurant. And because I spoke Spanish, the owner assumed I was Mexican and hired me. Well, I did not know the difference between enchiladas and burritos. And I got fired the first week that I was on the job because I couldn't tell the difference. And I looked at him, I got fired, went home. The next day I showed back up and he's like, you were fired yesterday. And I said, wait a minute, I'm Colombian. I don't eat, burritos and enchiladas. I eat, arroz con pollo. I eat, black beans because of the Cuban influence. I eat those foods, right? And so I'll learn the enchilada burrito. I promise you by the end of the summer, I'll know better. So some things that people need to know, right? For Aniela, we don't eat hot stuff, right?
Nothing
and I know
spicy.
Doris and Deetra, you probably use salsa and picon.
I do.
You probably carry, I know some of my Mexican friends carry that, the hot sauce with them, even in their pockets, because they can't eat without it. So something to be said about our cultures and how unique and beautiful they are. So as far as, let's talk about discrimination, because I know sometimes that happens, especially, I'm sure, Doris, you probably experienced it being a migrant family worker in Aniela. Did that ever happen? Or can you share, and how did you face that adversity? And I'll start with you, Doris.
Sure. So like I said, growing up in, this area and not being from here, because you're constantly moving. So you're never from one specific place. You're constantly going around. So when I would move, for example, I would go to Arizona, to Yuma, you're not from here. And, being a female. So what I had to do, I had to learn, I love sports, love sports. So that was my comeback. It's fine, you don't want to, I'm not part of you, but I could be part of your sport. Love football, basketball, baseball, you name it, I was there. So that was my comeback. So whenever I would come back to, for example, in elementary or even high school, or even now, I always go back to those memories. And I say, you know what, I could do this because if it wasn't for sports and just hearing that you can't do this, you're a girl, you can't. I always, I would get so frustrated and I would go and I would tell them, you know what, I'll show you that I can. I'll show you that I could be better than you. So if I was the only female playing football out there, I was going to be the best female playing football out there, the best, basketball player out there. So that kept me going. And going to Mexico, you're not from Mexico. So when I would go over there, again, super tall female, my language, my Spanish was not the best because, we weren't from Mexico.
That's right.
Right away, they would discriminate against you. Eres Mexicana, you beaners, oh, you guys think that you guys are all good. But I knew inside of me that it was just momentary. So even now, it's constantly, oh, you're Hispanic, oh, you can't do this. But I tell, my husband, you know what, if we're going to do real estate, we're going to do the best real estate out there. We're going to do the best things that we can to show that we can do this, that we're going to do it the right way. So honestly, that, it helped me so much. Again, and I guess that's the reason why with Gino and with 49ers, it's just like hand in hand.
That spirit, right?
Yes. I'm like, oh my God, I love it so much because it's a team and I feel that you have to be part of something. So that's how I learned to it's okay. It's okay that people tell you that you can't, but you're going to show them that you can do it the right way.
It just makes you want to do it more. Right?
Exactly. I'll show you.
I'll show you, right? And
so I think that we all have suffer from vestitis or practice vestitis as a way to deal with discrimination that I've seen and felt throughout my life, both as a woman and as a Latina. First of all, my grandparents didn't speak English, so I was their translator in many ways. So I knew that for me, success was a given because my parents didn't make the kind of sacrifices that they did for there to be mediocrity in my lifetime. So for me, that just was key. And the fact that everything that I did had to be better than an Anglo student or a student whose family had been in my town for 3 or 4 generations, because I had to learn not only the culture of the United States and help my parents understand it, but succeed to the level that I was able to do.
That brought tears to my eyes because you're so right? We have we all felt like we have to succeed for our parents, right? Because they gave so much, coming from, their different parts and the suffrage that they had. I can't believe I'm crying. This has never happened.
We said that we would cry.
Yeah.
We said that we would cry because it is, I mean, all of us who are here today and those of us that are watching, I know that we'll have many Latinas who are in our business and in our companies watching who just feel this, and we need to say it.
Yeah, you feel that pressure, right? That you just want to do it for your family, and because they struggled and they moved here, and I mean, coming from Cuba and Mexico, and the challenges to leave their families behind. My parents from Colombia, right? And having to, that was a big deal, right? Deidre, yours too, right? So thank you again, Aniela, for sharing that. It was so special. Who do you look for? Who has given you the biggest driving force in your life? Deidre, I know that you have so many. Your parents are such driving force, and we have to give a shout out to your dad right now, right?
Yep.
So tell me about who's the driving force for you.
Yeah, definitely my family, but T, why'd you start the crying here? But my ultimate driving force is my son. And I've been a single mom since 2009. And so my goal every day is just to lead by example for him. That's it. And that's enough for me. I will get up every morning. And as you ladies say, I get up every morning without any doubt. There's rarely are there days that I don't want to do something great, but they happen because I'm tired or whatever circumstance is going on in life. But I just have to remember that I need to be a living, breathing example for my son. And it's done. I just go out and seize the day.
Oh, I love that. Aniela, how about you?
I've had so many teachers throughout my life, in middle school, in grammar school, and in high school that saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself and would tell my parents that. And that, for the first time, was when I realized that I had leadership qualities. So I thank the people who saw that in me. And honestly, my mother is fierce. She's 84 years old. And if anybody knows her, we are more alike than we are different, right? We're always trying to be different from our mom sometimes as women, right? But I know that that's what I'm going to look like, and that's who I'm going to be. So I really, and I owe her a lot. I mean, she stayed in a job for many years that she could have changed careers or done something different that she would have liked better. But no, she stayed there so that I could have a better life and be able to make the choices that I've made. So I really look up to her.
Doris?
So, again, it's just the family, family. And when I started real estate, and the reason why here we go, made that decision, it's because I knew that I had to provide to my parents at one time. And, it's constantly, oh my God, I'm sorry, just showing them that what I do, it's for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is, because we have also that responsibility as Latinas. We have this responsibility for our parents because they gave to us, and not always. I don't see that always with other other generations. It's a responsibility, right? You give back to your family. You take care of them when they're older. You make sure that they're always a part of your life. So that's part of our culture, and I think it's so true, right? That you want to do so much better for them, right? And to succeed for that reason.
I feel that it's appreciation. I appreciate everything that they've done. And like Deidre said, like I have 3 boys. I have 3 boys that I have to show them that there's no stopping. And my son always tells me, "Oh, Mom, the sky's the limit." And I tell him, the sky's not the limit. There's a universe out there. There's a universe that you still have to go out there and touch. So don't tell me that, oh, this is just where I'm at. No, you go out, you find it, and you find whatever piece is out there. So don't tell me that you're going to be here when you could go here. And, there has been struggles, but I know that, it's just pushing them forward, and they keep me moving forward. They keep me just getting up and just going out there, working 12 hours. I'm here in the office, go home, cook, clean. I'm a female, I'm a mom, a wife, business owner. So it's just constantly. So I feel you guys. So it's just, but it's awesome. It's a good thing.
And so many women out there are in that same, many of our realtors are in the same vein, that they're mothers, they're, business leaders, they're agent, they do all the stuff like that we're involved with. I'm also a proud mother as well of my daughter Jessica and my son Jeffrey. So I just have to mention them because they're my why too, right? I love it. So tell me about decision making. What is the best or worst decision that you've ever made? And I loved your, TJ, you and I talked earlier, and I'm going to start with you because I think what you said was really special. And then Aniela, and then Doris.
I don't have a worse decision. I think that's what we were chatting about yesterday in the evening. Everything I've gone through, every experience I've had, great, bad, sad, hard, it shaped me, and it's created who I am today. And I wouldn't change one thing. I love who I am, and I love where I'm at. So in regards to my career, the best decision I made was to have that conversation 19 years ago with that very good friend who put me in contact with Gino, and he gave me the opportunity to learn, to grow, and with no limits, like Doris said. So that was my best decision I made, is to have that conversation, which brought me to who I am and what I'm doing today in my career.
Love that answer. Love it. Beautiful. Aniela?
I think that my best decision I made at 18 years old, when, we're supposed to be making bad ones, right? At 18, I made a decision and had the opportunity to go to Wellesley College in Massachusetts. And it's meant, if many of you don't know it, but Wellesley College is where Hillary Clinton went to college, and it's a women's college. And my parents had no idea about any type of secondary education here in the United States. So they were just hoping that I should go to wherever was best for me. And I'm an only child of basically only children. And Wellesley has given me sisters to this day. In about a month, I'm going to be gathering with women who I served on the Wellesley College alumni board with, some of them in their 70s, some of them in their 30s. So, and I'm so lucky to have sisters all across the world and across the United States who, at a moment's notice, would be there for me. So that was my best decision.
Oh, I love it. What a beautiful, right? Beautiful. And it is one of the most prestigious colleges. I mean, you've gone to every school there. I was like, it's a prestigious school. So again, Aniela, it's such an honor, right? And Doris, how about you?
I feel that the best decision that I made, and and I include my husband in this, just being business owners, having that opportunity to not have to work an 8 to 5 job, where I have the opportunity to go to every single sport event that my children have. That's like the best thing that I could ever done. My son now is 21. And ever since he started doing sports, only once I have not been there for him. And now the other two are doing the same sports, but I'm always there for them. And I think that gave me the opportunity and the time to go out there and be their mom and always cheer them on. So I think that has been the greatest opportunity that this country has given us, just being a business owner, that you're able to step away for a little bit. My phone's always on, but I'm always available for my kids. I mean, that's the best decision.
Yeah, it is such I love it. And I think that is so true, right? And this career really gives us this opportunity too, because it allows flexibility. Yeah, we're on weekends. Yeah, but then you also are able to have your colleagues fill in for you who are your real estate partners. And so all of that really helps in the work that we do. I have to agree with you, Dietra. My best decision was coming on board with Gino. Meeting him was like, for me, a big deal. And to this day, I'm just so honored that I was able to, make the decision to come, and that Dan Forsman let me do it, because it had to come okay with him, right? He had to give that approval. And now I'm with all of you, and I've gotten a chance to meet every one of you, and so many of the other groups that are part of our Women Who Lead. We are running out of time. Can you believe this is almost over? So I'm going to ask just a couple of questions on what is the best advice that you've ever received that you want others to know, or one that you would want to give to other people. Doris, I'm going to start with you, and then Dietra, and then Aniela.
Sure. So what I always tell my agents, and we're talking about real estate, is, just be open. I always tell them, don't put your ego in front of your client, because if you start doing something like that, you're just going to ruin your relationship. And something that I learned about contracts and agreements, we'll talk about real estate for a little bit, but it's, just talk about an agreement. And if you agree with something, things are going to be good. Always ask questions. Don't be afraid. And honestly, I have not been part of another real estate agency. Since I started in 2007, I have been here. I don't know how other brokers do it. I have no idea, but I know that if I'm always available for my client, for my agents. And I always tell them, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to say, let me ask. Let me ask. And I always tell them, and I guess that's, if I was a brand new agent in 2007 and I had somebody like myself, I think a lot of things would have been different. But I'm always telling them, just go out there and ask questions. Don't be afraid. I mean, that's the only thing that I would say.
I love that. That's it is part of being scared is, we all go through it, right? In every scenario, and people don't realize it. They always think, oh, you look so calm and collected. Inside, I'm like, oh, trembling. Dietra, how about you?
My advice would be, do what makes you happy and partake in roles that celebrate continuous improvement. I know Aniela and Doris are Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, but I do know a lot of listeners are not with that brand. But what stuck out yesterday, because Gino had an input call for our upcoming sales convention, and our theme, I wrote it down, our theme of invaluable is really cool to me. And the little wording in our advertisements that we're sending to our agents, it says, do your best to be invaluable. And invaluable is spelled with a Y-O-U. And to have invaluable experiences. When you are all in with unique value, you are able to accomplish all of your dreams and then some. So that jumped out at me last night. And I'm like, I love our theme. And I just paid a little closer attention because it was top of mind due to our schedules yesterday.
Yeah, it is going to be an exciting conference, and I totally love that as well, and the way it's spelled as well. I totally agree. Aniela, how about you?
Well, one of the things that in my older years, I've come to learn about myself and about so many Latinas who are in my neck of the woods who I get to interact with as real estate licensees, and so many women who are in our business. I always say, don't undersell yourself, because the men are not doing it, ladies. They're just not. So I often say, value your worth. do not discount what you are. This is your profession. Make sure that your customers, clients understand that, because certainly they want to get paid as well. So one of the, if I could just talk about a quote that also goes into what Deetra was talking about adding value. This is from one of my favorite leaders in the field of leadership, John Maxwell. And the quote that I really love is, leaders who add value by serving believe in their people before their people believe in them, and serve others before they are served. Part of that servant leadership mentality that, you know, I look to as one of the ways that I like to lead. And I think a lot of us have that same instinct here at Home Services.
What a great quote. Thank you so much, Aniela. Last words is, you know, we want to share what is your favorite, and some of you have already shared it, but any last comment, any words, books or quotes that resonate with you that you can share with our audience? I always like to end with the quote or something that will resonate with our audience. Deetra, let me start with you.
Okay. I wanted to share my mantra, which I've shared earlier in the year, with something that yourself and Kathy were spearheading with Women Who Lead. But my mantra that I live by is everything is your business. Everything is my business. And if you can't do something to the best of your ability, don't even do it. So.
Oh, great quote. Aniela?
Well, I would say that my go-to quote is the motto for Wellesley College, which is non ministrari sed ministrare. That's in Latin, but it means not to be ministered unto, but to minister. And I really think that surmises servant leadership.
Oh, it does. What a great quote. I love it. Doris?
So I just have different ones, but in my wall, I have like a little wall over there, and it says, whatever the mind can achieve and conceive, it could be, you could believe it and it's going to be achievable. And I also have Vince Lombardi, which is again football.
He has the best.
Yes. So it's, it's just, him, constantly, talking about, just going out there, being a team, and being flexible, being a team player. And that's what I feel that in my office, we all have to be a big team. And that's the reason why I love, being part of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, because it's constantly, as we are here as a team, and we're helping each other to continue growing. And that's what's the beauty about, being, such a huge group. So I love it. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Doris. My mother, who died when I was 18, was, again, first generation Latina, very proud. And when I was 18, around that age, I was going through this. I don't want to be Latina. I want to be American. I don't even want to speak Spanish, right? We all go through that. And I remember her sitting me down and saying, "Mijita, tú eres Latina, so don't forget your roots, okay? Never forget your roots." And I brought my roots today. This is the poncho I wore in high school. Now think about it. It's all colors, right? And when my mom died, it was the first thing I got out of my closet because I felt such a tie-in to her. And to this day is my proudest thing that I own, because I had to wear it and was embarrassed about it. And the fact that I was ever embarrassed about it makes me mad, but also now makes me happy, because I realize how important it is for us to always remember where we came from, right? Thank you all for spending the time with us today. I really do appreciate it, and hearing about your backgrounds and your experiences, and also sharing it with our audiences. I can tell you that you are all such an inspiration to me, and that I know your families are so proud of all that you have achieved. And I found this quote so befitting for today that I thought was great. And it's by our Julian Castro, who was the former mayor of San Antonio. "In the end, the American dream is not a sprint or even a marathon, but a relay. Our families don't always cross the finish line in the span of one generation, but each generation passes on to the next the fruits of their labor. Isn't that just wonderful? I just thought it was so perfect. Thank you for joining me today. And don't forget, join me again in 2 weeks on September 30th when we continue to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with some Latina influencers that will also be featured on the show. And please remember to join our Facebook page, share our episodes, and like our YouTube channel. And always remember to bring other women up the ladder with you as you climb to the top. Bye, everybody. Thanks again.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. And we will see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds good.